Hi, I'm Diane Oakley. I'm the Executive Director of the National Institute on Retirement Security, or NIRS. I'm very pleased to join the Washington State ASME Retiree Convention in this electronic method. I'm very pleased to be speaking here with you retirees because you understand that there are many reasons that got you to the place you are today, being retired. And in fact, we know that often retirees' reasons occur because of health or other issues. In fact, 51% of retirees tell us that they retired earlier than they expected because of some of those reasons. We also know that individuals like yourself who have a defined benefit pension are best prepared for retirement when compared to other Americans. And so it's particularly troubling in a new report that my organization, NIRS, will be releasing this week called Retirement in America, Out of Reach for Working Americans, where we find that 100 million American workers have no retirement account savings, nor are they covered by a defined benefit plan. In fact, we know that less than 1 out of every 5 have an adequate amount, have more than 1 times their salary saved for retirement. And even that 1 times their salary saved is not going to be enough. And in fact, 3/4 of Americans are not on track in having enough assets to retire and maintain their lifestyle when we look at their full net worth. With those troubling facts, we know we have to do more to expand retirement security for all Americans. But I'm going to talk today also to you about the value of having a pension and what that does for Americans across the country. But I'm also here to talk about something that I think also you are all involved in, and that is when you spend your retirement check that you receive each month. NIRS publishes a publication called Pensionomics. And in this, we track through the economy and how the dollars that you're spending out of your retirement check go and influence our economy across the United States. What we find on a national level is that the spending by retirees who have defined benefit pensions support 7.1 million jobs that paid over $350 billion in income to those workers. In addition, your spending generates $1.2 trillion in economic output nationwide, and that includes $627 billion in value added. Nationally, that also generates almost $190 billion in tax revenue at the federal, state, and local level. So let's just look more specifically as how those dollars go through the economy. When you spend your dollars, let's say taking out your family or your grandkids to a restaurant nearby, that means that owner knows that he has a certain amount of meals, needs a certain level of staffing. And then he's buying food, paying employees. They're taking their money and spending their money. And so you have direct by your saving, indirect by that person saving, and induced that is generated through all of that. In total, the 3 areas where retiree spending generates the most amount of economic activity and jobs are real estate, where about 383,000 jobs are supported, hospitals, where 330,000 jobs are supported, and restaurants, as I used in the example, support about 296,000 jobs from the spendings done by retirees in America who have defined benefit pensions. One of the things we do to sort of just help you understand a little bit dollar for dollar as you're spending is we translate those national numbers I just shared with you into how much each dollar goes through the economy. These are called multipliers, and so we have a national pension expenditure multiplier, and that's how much each dollar you turn over and spend generates in economic activity. And so for every dollar that you're spending, we're generating $2.21 in economic activity across the U.S. economy. We then take that and combine it with data in terms of how did that dollar get to you? Where was the source of those dollars? And so we look back at the savings put away in retirement plans nationally. And we know that about 24% of each of those dollars coming to you as a retiree comes from contributions from your employer. Another 12% of those dollars are returning to you, the contributions that you made into the retirement system. But the bulk of the dollars that are going to make up your pension benefit come from the compounding of investment returns on the dollars contributed. And that's 65% of the value coming to you comes from the investment earnings in your pension. When we combine this with that pension expenditure multiplier, we actually just look at the taxpayer dollars. So we're looking at that 1/4 of the dollars going into the pension. What kind of economic activity is generated by the dollars that the taxpayer put into the pension plan to pay for your benefits? And so we know nationally that for each dollar of spending that was contributed to your pension, $9.19 actually is the economic output coming back to the taxpayer and the citizens across the economy. Let's just take the numbers I've shared with you down to the state level. And you'll see in this slide that's going to be put up that NIRS does take this analysis and does it on a state-by-state basis to look at the impact of pensions at the state and local level on their state and local economies. So we have this map. You can go on our website, which is on the slide, www.nirsonline.org, and you can find the map under our Pensionomics website, part of the website. You'll find by clicking on, you'll come to a fact sheet that we do for each of the 50 states. And if you look at the fact sheet that's there for Washington, you'll find that we give out numbers specifically about the dollars being paid to you as public employees who have retired from the state of Washington. Your pension dollars being spent in the state support over $5.4 billion in economic output, which includes $3.1 billion in value added. Those dollars that you're spending support 33,400 jobs in the state of Washington and generate $936 million in state and local tax revenue. And what's really interesting in particular because of Washington State, in that earlier pie chart I had talked about percentages and said that the investment return generated about 65% of the payments going to retirees nationally. In Washington, we know very specifically that the payments coming to you as retirees, 75% of it comes from investment return, and the employer contribution is 16.4%. So when we look at developing the Washington State taxpayer multiplier, it equals pretty close to the federal multiplier, and that each dollar that the taxpayers in Washington put into the Washington retirement systems for public employees actually generate $8.95 in economic activity in the state. So I think Washington State does get a good benefit. And I think the other important thing I want to share with you before I leave is that we've also done some message research. And one of the things we do when we do this is we ask questions in a public opinion poll. One of the questions we ask is, tell me whether you will find this a compelling message. Retirees who receive monthly income from pensions use that money to buy goods and services in communities, which contributes to our economy, supports jobs, and adds value. And what was really interesting in particular was that we found that 80% of the people we surveyed said that this was a compelling message. And so I encourage you to find ways to share how your spending, as you're spending it, helps to help others all across the state of Washington. Thank you for your time and have a good meeting.